Hello, everybody. Good to be with you. So today I want to share this video with you, which I think is going to be one of the most helpful that I have ever cut. It explores what I've come to see as universal phenomena. I have typically an awakening session every day with somebody somewhere in the world, and that's been going on for years and years. And you can, even a blind nut can find or even a blind squirrel can find the nut from time to time. I'm not sure that a blind nut can find a squirrel, but I have discovered, it's just come to my realization that there are some universal concepts, there's some universal ideas that everyone that I see in an awakening session, and many that I see in clarity sessions, but everyone that I see in an awakening session, everyone I meet for the first time, they come to me in the very same place. Now, I've long known that it was very, very common, but I had not recognized that it was universal, but it is. And that universal place is the bubble of self-reflection. So I have a video on the bubble of self-reflection, which I would advise you to watch in tandem with this one. I'll put a link to it right there in the comments box. But let me touch on it briefly here, just so you don't have to switch off and switch on. Many of you know about this, but how well do you really know about it? This is the bubble of self-reflection. And what it amounts to is the woman that you see in this bubble. This is a self-constructed bubble. It's not even a bubble. It's the bubbleless bubble. But when I say that, it's the bubbleless bubble in the same way that it's the gateless gate. So is your experience, whether it's true or not. Everybody will come here to me. And in this bubble, this woman knows that there is a higher experience available, that there's more somehow available, and it's not more there's more available. But every time she goes to look for it, she catches the unit's reflection in this bubble. And she believes that the woman in the bubble needs to wake up. That's the first universal thing. That's the bubble of self-reflection. Every client I have ever had that was not already awake, get a number of those, but every client that I've ever had who was not already awake, including this one, if you want to include this as my first client, which is fair, came to a session in that bubble of self-reflection. And I say that it's no bubble, but it is an experienced bubble. And I've come to see that universally, that the bubble that everyone comes constructed in, there may be a little different, there's a different spin, there's different interpretations, there's all of that. I'm not saying that every apple is just the same, but I'm saying that there are commonalities. And the one commonality is that every client that comes to me is stuck in the bubble of self-reflection. And part of the success of this teaching is just helping people break through the bubbleless bubble. The second thing is that the bubbleless bubble, even though it's an imaginary thing, it is built upon stories of understanding. And I think I've made it clear here many times that I don't understand what we're talking about. And that's not a joke. It's not some kind of attempt at false modesty. I'm not very good at any kind of modesty, false or otherwise. It's just accuracy. It's true. So the false story of understanding is this. The client thinks that they are coming to get an understanding of enlightenment, to get what, they sometimes call enlightenment, the understanding. But they don't mean it in the way that we hear it. They don't mean that. There's almost nothing that a teacher tells you that it's one thing for what they've said and it's another for what you hear. I see this all the time. I don't watch very much video of conventional teachers, but sometimes somebody send me a clip or something, and I'll watch it and I'll watch to see how effective I believe what they're doing is. And you're going not only to me, but you're going to them, even whether it's one of the big names or it's somebody in your hometown. You're going with the idea of gaining the understanding of your true nature. And number one, your true nature is not understandable. This unit will never understand it. Fredness, the patterns here, will never understand enlightenment. The woman in that bubble will never, ever in a million years understand enlightenment. And this has become, the reason I think that it's becomes just so profound to seeing lately is that I don't know what's happening, but the Fred microfame or something is spreading, and I'm getting more awakening sessions than I've ever got. I've had to make adjustments to other parts of my programs in order to host them. And it seems like that among some that are just sort of regular, I seem to also be getting, and which I mean, I always get some of these, but not like bunches in a row, of the absolute hardest cases out there from all over the world. The people was talking to this about to one of my clients yesterday, and he said, so you're getting the people that nobody else can do anything with. I said, that's right. And I actually have always gotten the people that nobody else could do anything with, but this is amped up, right, in both number and the problematic nature of our awakening sessions. And in dealing with some of these people who just I've not failed to wake any of these people up, but they're but the clarity that they left the session with has varied from very, very minimal to very brightly awake. And I'm just getting a herd of these. So there is something that I have for years done, which is if I'm in the session and it's not going well and we're approaching the end of the session and I realize that, or at least it feels to me like I'm just not going to wake this person up, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to gently let them down as gently as I can. I mean, it's hard to be, it won't sound gentle no matter what I do, but I mean it gently. And I might tell them something like, well, we're just not getting anywhere, are we? And I mean, it's pretty amazing, right? I mean, because I do wake up almost everybody I talk to, but apparently you are not one of those. And I've got thousands of students that have never heard that line. But there's a subgroup that have heard something along that line. And I tell them the truth. I say, it's not your call here. You haven't messed up. Don't think that you have blown it somehow. Don't think that it was your opportunity and you missed it, because there's no one over there. And it's not my call. In other words, I haven't screwed up, number one, because I have done what I have done with hundreds of other awakening students and thousands of students in general, which is just have told you the truth. And it's the same truth that I told thousands of others. So don't point over here. I had someone this week say, no. I mean, this guy had woken up. This guy had woken up. He was getting it beautifully. And then he began to believe his thoughts, and he began to blame me for his believing his thoughts. And like I was now doing something wrong. I had changed something. I had screwed it up. And, I was just thinking about the 1,500 people in front of him that I had done the same thing with, and it hadn't screwed up for them. So, I mean, which one of us is likely right? And so I told him, I said, and he said, you pushed me back to where a famous teacher had me. And he said, and I couldn't get it from him, and I can't get it from you. And I said, no, I have not pushed you back to where the famous teacher had you. I have, you, in fact, have pushed you back to where the famous teacher had you. And I said, and more, even more to the point, I said, that Bobness has pushed you back to where the famous teacher had you. This is not mental, it's experiential. And then I saw the magic. And by this time, I have to tell you, by the time I delivered it on him, it was a Hail Mary pass. It was not just a statement. I had come to know that this was a strategy that sometimes worked. And don't worry if you're hearing this, because it'll still work on you if we get to that point, if it's supposed to. And I said, you're trying to understand this. That's the magic. Everybody in the bubble is trying to understand non-duality. They are trying to think their way into clarity, and it cannot happen. I don't understand this. I don't know of any teacher, I don't know of any authentic teacher that would stand up and tell you, oh yes, I understand everything about this. They just can't, they can't. And why can they not? Because when you're trying to understand this, you're taking this item, which weighs about 3 pounds, about size, same weight as a largish rabbit. And this 3 pounds genuinely believes that it understands everything in the whole universe outside of it. Do you find any arrogance in that? But it's what we do. I did it too. I'm not like throwing stones at telling people do what I did. Don't, I'm saying don't do what I did. Do what I say. Don't try to understand this. There is no understanding this. If you're a seeker, give up on trying to understand it. And how do you give up on trying to understand it? Be still. Be still and know that I am God. Remember that? Be still. You can't really stop it, this this wheel that's going around in your head, this voice that's constantly going, what about this? What about this? Well, I can't be Fred, because what about this? And what about this? I get emails and comments on YouTube and on the website from people asking Fred questions. I mean, there's no way to answer those, folks. There's just not a Fred here. I understand what question their question is, but if I answer it, it will confirm their false belief that there's a Fred here and a Bob there. If I answer that question, I will not be helping Bob out. I will be leading Bob astray. So there's some questions I'm just not going to answer. Because this teaching's overall drive is to be helpful. I'm more interested in being helpful than I am in being non-dually correct. I don't give a damn about the non-dual police. They don't give a damn about me. We made that agreement years ago, and we both kept our sides quite faithfully. We both think each other's kind of funny. But I'm willing. But I'm not unhappy about that, because if I got a lot of people thinking I'm phony, then that Ralph Waldo Emerson told me, welcome the slings and arrows. Welcome them, not just put up with them. Don't just accept them. Welcome the slings and arrows of public commentary, because that tells you that you're doing something different, and this is different. Don't fool yourself into thinking that that even I use the term and all that, but don't think this is a non-dual teacher or even a non-dual unteacher. There's an unteaching happening here, but it's not, and it's happening within non-duality, but it's not a non-dual. In other words, it's happening within this. But as I find it, non-duality is a path toward awakening. And there's some wonderful teachers out there that I love and respect, and I'm not dissing you. I'm really not. Because the whole thing, what I see is that it's every teacher's job, that the real job of every spiritual teacher, maybe every teacher of any kind, actually is just to help the student move down the track. You know, an 8th grade math teacher is not going to take her students into trigonometry, because she knows that's ultimately where they've got to go. And then why even must mess with all this when we know we got to go there? Because if you don't have the foundation of all this, maybe you don't get there at all, unless you're just some kind of prodigy. You cannot understand this. But what happens is that I get, and right now I'm getting a bunch of them. Exclude yourself if it doesn't fit you. But right now I'm getting a bunch of what I call insistent understanders. You could call them persistent understanders. But the key word there is understanders. When we talk about the seeking community, we are talking about the hundreds and thousands or millions of understanders to be. They really think that they're going to understand this teaching or something, or anybody else's. I mean, it's like, you know, any non-dual teaching, they think they're going to understand it. You can't. Even the ones that are stepped, you know, like some of the older Indian traditions and stuff that have the, you know, the 8 prongs and these steps and this and that and the other. Even if you go that route, there's a sense that I'll be understanding more later, and I can't wait until I get there. And what I want to tell you is, if that is your attitude, you will never get there. You'll never get there unless there is just a a true miracle of God and lightning comes out of the sky, and that happens. I have had too many clients that it's happened to not believe in that. I know it happens. It didn't actually happen that way to me, both in 1992 and 2006. I woke up from inquiry. I actually woke up from the methodology that I teach, which is not all that common when it comes to specialists in inquiry. Some of them just got hit with that bolt of lightning, and then after they woke up, they used inquiry to clear up, and they saw that it was very good for that, so it must be good for awakening too, and it is, but not if it's not done just right. And I'm not trying, I don't need the accolade. I'm not sitting up here trying to preen for you. I'm just telling you that I see what it takes, because I'm teaching teachers, and I'm beginning to see some of them awaken people, right? And I've got several students in the teaching students in the field, and one graduated in the field, and they're doing great. So what I'm telling you is field tested. And this bit about not being able, about the bubble of self-reflection, that's, if you're not awake to your true nature right now, you are here. And I don't care if you got into non-duality yesterday or you got into non-duality 60 years ago, you are right here. This is the most overlooked, under-taught thing in non-duality. Listen to him make a statement like he knows something. Well, it sounded good, but I would question the truth of it, just because it came from this and it's not known for, a lifelong accuracy at things. When I went homeless and was living in the park, I mean, hell, I didn't realize that I was an old drunk living in the bushes and dying. I thought I was a Zen master. So I can be, this thing can fool itself, right? And that thing can fool itself too, and it is fooling itself. It's fooling itself because it thinks it doesn't even recognize it's in the bubble. But that bubble is built around the story of understanding. So Fred, if I can't understand this, what do I do? Well, look at what that unit has guided you to do right now. What are you doing right now? Right now, you are listening to the living method of spiritual awakening. If you were my best friend and you asked me what you should do to awaken, I couldn't fail to point you here. And there's other places I can point to you that are quite good and that you may get something there too. But the best place I can send you to, quantities of people may be awake, but the percentages are very, very low. What's happening here is that the unknown is being celebrated. Because if you look at it, you look at most teachings, there is an enlightened wonder trying to teach you and me and the rest of the slow ones who just can't get it how to wake up. They're trying to educate Fred and Bob and Mary. That'd be a pretty good trick when there's no Fred or Bob or Mary, and we've seen that in many other of my videos. I'm not going to repeat it here. So let's understand that this woman in the bubble And in truth, it's just a unit. It's a unit with an imaginary character that it's cooked up and taken into the story with it. And that unit believes that, and that unit, which we believe take to be a real being. I mean, in other words, this is an animated cadaver. This is an animated cadaver too, and so is whatever's listening to this. This is an animated cadaver that has always identified with the cadaver instead of the animation. And it's just the opposite. You're not a cadaver. You're not limited to being any single unit. You are the animation that's the single movement here. It's not like you animate this one and this one and this one. There's just one. There aren't any this one and this one and this one. They're just the one. There's this single movement. And the finite cannot come to know the infinite. And that's what you want. You want to know this. You want to cling to it. I mean, this week I had somebody wake up and I asked him, I said, so what are you thinking about right now? And he said, and he'd just come through to see his character, and he spoke from awakeness, but he said, Bobness is afraid of losing this. It was so accurate and so honest. It was beautiful. Because it's exactly what I knew was going on anyway. Because that's what the thoughts that come up in early awakening, the earliest, in just an awakening event is, oh my God, I can't believe it. And then there'll be re-identification with the woman in the bubble, with the unit in the bubble. There'll be re-identification as that instead of as this, the awakened space. And the minute there is, the false Fred, the false Bob, the false Mary and Susan will see that I, Fred, have just had a grand experience and I don't want to ever lose it. But conscious awakeness does not show up in the unit's presence, in the character's presence. It shows up in the unit's presence, but not in the character's presence. It can only show up in the character's absence. So every time you're having one of those very, very clear moments, those moments of clarity, those striking insights, and it feels like, oh, this is great, I'm getting clearer and clearer, I want to know who the hell is talking. Who is it that's getting clearer and clearer? It's an imaginary character that believes itself it's getting clearer and clearer. It's just like a hamster on a wheel, but the problem is when you're a hamster on a wheel, you don't know you're on a wheel. But it certainly feels like you're making a lot of progress. Hell, you're growing muscles. That's got to be progress, doesn't it? You got all these muscle-bound hamsters running around thinking that they've gone somewhere, but they haven't. They think they're getting somewhere, but they're not. There's no path to awakening. I don't care what it is. There's no direct or indirect or hell, I can't even remember the different names of different gurus, but there's just not. There's Advaita, there is not a path. Zen is not a path to awakening. There is no path to awakening. They are all helpful unless they wreck you. They're all helpful unless you come to believe what they're teaching you, instead of noticing what's actually going on. If you want to know what Zen is, go visit a Zen monastery or a temple. That's Zen. It's not anything anybody's going to tell you, and it's not anything you're going to come to see as the direct result of meditation that they will teach you. And the most enlightened Zen masters know that. And they just know that if you put a diamond under a piece of coal under enough pressure, that it can sometimes turn into a diamond, and that's what they're doing. You're under the pressure. Nope, can't eat this. No, you got to get up really early. No, you can't eat that. No, do this. Go sweep. Go sweep. I know you just swept it. Go sweep it again. Do it right this time. Sweep it. And you know, and here's some pickles to eat, right? Or some rice and pickles. I mean, and that's all you get. I'm sorry. It's because when great constriction can breed an explosive expansion. But when you're trying to figure your way out, when Kensho occurs at a Zen sitting, when Kensho occurs, that person has not just figured it out. That person has just entered the unfigure-outable. And that's what you need to be. Instead of an insistent understander, become an unfigure-outable, or an unfigure-outable, or whatever. Put it down on paper. I don't think I can say it through both my mouth. But you know what I mean. Listen to this, what is being said here. I have absolutely no motivation whatsoever to not tell you the truth as I know it. That is the calling of this teaching. I understand it disagrees with many other teachings. Just check the effectiveness. You know, I had a guy this week who was at a famous teacher's seminar, or retreat. And he had just talked to the teacher, and and he didn't understand it. And he was walking out of the tent or whatever it was, or I don't know, I guess it was a hotel room, something. He walked by where some people were eating, and he just muttered under his breath, "I've got to find somebody who can just kick me in the head, or slap me in the head with this, because I'm never going to get it otherwise." And somebody at the table said, "Oh, you need to call Fred Davis." And then he came to me, and the Fred Davis unit wasn't doing it any good either, and you could just see the response. But when he gave up on trying, he got an understanding. When he gave up on trying to understanding, the understanding arose. And what is the understanding that arose? For this unit, the most helpful understanding that ever arose was the fact that there's no understanding. That was the final understanding. I mean, not that there's not stuff still going on, but the final understanding into growing, always growing abundance was understanding that there's no understanding this. And I beg you, because you are me, I beg you to take this thing seriously. You're in the bubble of self-reflection. You can't think your way out of it. You need, almost everybody's going to need a teacher. Not everybody does, obviously. I didn't have a living teacher when awakening occurred here. Eckhart didn't, Byron Katie didn't. There are certainly these people who didn't. But many more did. And if you don't, even if you wake up without a teacher, then get a teacher for clearing, because you can't think your way into clarity, because true clarity is beyond thinking, it's beyond language, it's beyond experience, it's beyond knowing. You can't get yourself there. The leader is a figment of the imagination. So I think I've talked too long. In other words, I'm tired of, like, we're done here. Consider what I've said carefully. If you want to, and you don't have to. I mean, you can suffer as long as you want. It's up to you. And when you but if you didn't quite understand this thing, watch it again. What could you lose? Thanks. Bye-bye.